the first time you ever heard of an ectopic pregnancy?
I've never heard about it. I got to know of it when I was going through it. I was just in class and I started getting a sharp pain. I did not know what was happening. I was like, is this how it's supposed to happen? But why is it painful? That's when I went back to the doctor. When I got there, I tell him, I'm in pain. He hadn't yet gotten in depth to find out how painful is it. But then he just started to question then, what kind of pain is it? I'm like, it's just on one side. Then he's like, no, I suspect an ectopic. But let me not just rush into things. Let me just send you straight for a scan. We went to see the gynae that my aunt referred us to. There's a procedure called a laparoscopy.
And a laparoscopy is when they make incisions and, use tools through those incisions to
check what's
exactly
going on.
The point. Yeah.
So my mom was like, now this is progress. Yeah. I went for theater, woke up the next day and found out I have a C-section scarring skin.
In this heartfelt episode of GaonaLive Conversations, we sit down with the brave Lucia, who opens up about her experience with an ectopic pregnancy, a condition that is more common than many realize, yet remains misunderstood. Now, from the moment she discovered something wasn't quite right to navigating the emotional roller coaster that followed, she shares the confusion, the fear, and isolation that came with her diagnosis. In this conversation, Lucia delves into the physical pain and emotional toll of her experience, shedding light on a topic that remains largely hidden in our society. Lucia, thank you very much for deciding to have this conversation on GaonaLive Conversation. A very crucial conversation, I believe, because, this is a subject that is not spoken about enough. It's one of those taboo subjects. And I think, even when we talk about female reproductive health, it's just one of those topics that are not spoken about enough.
That's true.
We can talk about, pregnancy, we can talk about miscarriage, but the fact, about miscarriages is there are so many different types. And this is one type, of miscarriage.
Yes.
Talking about an ectopic pregnancy. I think we all know somebody.
Yes.
Who's experienced that. But why is it that people are struggling in their little corners, isolated, feeling like they're the only people who've been through it? I'm looking forward to you sharing your story. So once again, thank you for deciding. All right, we'll create awareness on this. So thank you for this.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Emma.
Let's just get to know you before we talk about your ectopic pregnancy. Let's just talk about, you growing up, dreams and aspirations before you even got to, to fall pregnant, to encounter this.
Well, I grew up mostly raised by a single mom. My uncles also. I grew up just around my extended family. And then moved to Gaps. My mom was starting a job here. She's a police officer. So I've been staying with her since till date. She is very overprotective. So you can imagine where I grew up sort of kind of restricted. But that's just a creative. I'd like to believe that. I grew up narata, a bit of entertainment where there's just movies, music. That's just me. Yes. So I think most of my life, I was basically an entertainer at home. I grew up to think I'd actually be in the entertainment space.
Really?
Yes. It's only just growing up, life happens, and I just shifted careers. Now I'm a beauty therapist.
Oh,
yes.
Lovely. Is this something that you still like to do, though? Because how old are you? you look young.
I am young.
So I can imagine
I'm 25.
You still have time. Imagine. So you still have time to do whatever you want to do.
And I think another advantage of the career that I'm in is that it's just very diverse. So
Absolutely.
I get to do whatever I want in it. If I still want to explore other things, I can still do that while I'm still pursuing it.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Now, when was the first time you ever heard of an ectopic pregnancy?
When I was going through
Imagine. So it's not something that you'd ever heard of before.
I've never heard about it. I only found out, I got to know of it when I was going through it.
Imagine.
That's the only time.
Let's talk about that experience, right? But perhaps before we even get to the the day you found out.
Yes.
I don't make a build up that thing. Kana, this actually means you were pregnant. Did you know you were pregnant? At what point did you find out you were pregnant?
So maybe let me just highlight that puberty, I had a bit of struggles, periodinally, or it takes many days. So one of the things that I used to be put on by my doctor was the contraceptives. So sometimes even when I get off the whole maybe term that I was given, it would delay to come. So when I got to find out I was pregnant, I think I had just gotten off the contraceptives. So the period was late. And then I just was like, okay, it could just be because I'm just getting off contraceptives.
Yeah.
So I chilled a bit, but 5 days went by and I'm like, let me just go to the doctor. I went to the doctor and he's like, no, but come on, the contraceptive. I don't think it's anything that intense. Let's give it another week.
You didn't even do a pregnancy test?
Not
at
yet.
That point. Okay.
And then I was like, So that's when I was like, let me just get a test just to be sure. So I went to get one. I did a pregnancy test at home. It came back negative. So I was like, okay, I guess I can now follow the doctor's instructions.
That's it.
And just wait. I waited another 5 days, I think, no period. And then I went back. I was like, doctor, nothing still. And then he's like, okay, let's do a pregnancy test. Then I confessed, I already took a pregnancy test and it came back negative. And then he was like, but those testers are never 100% accurate. But I was like, but they're also not like less percent accurate. So he was like, no, let's do a blood test. And then that was the time we did a blood test. And then he was like, no, wait outside. I'll call you back once the results are out. I'll ask the lab to just quickly do the results. And I said, okay. After 45 minutes, the whole time, by the way, I'm just keeping this to myself. I'm not telling anyone what I'm doing and all of that. So
not even baby daddy.
No.
Okay.
I think the only person I told was my best friend at the time.
Not even best friend.
No, it was just the best friend at the time.
Yeah.
So I think it dawned on me when I was on call with her waiting for the results and she's like, girl, what are you going to do if they come back positive? Because this is blood. You don't question blood.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know. Cross that bridge when I get there.
Yeah.
Went back to the doctor and then I will never forget his words when I entered his office. He said, congratulations.
Yeah.
You're pregnant. Can I go? I'm like, congratulations. But it just starts being, And one thing about that hospital and like the tests that are on paper, it's indeed like that.
Exactly.
So I was like, okay. And then I guess fast forward to me announcing it to baby daddy then. I just told him after work, pass by because I have something to tell you. And then he said, okay. He came by. I just handed him the results. But okay. I went to the doctor today and this is what I got. And then he just looked through it and he's like, okay, how are you feeling about it? And I was like, I don't know. I think at the moment it just hadn't set in yet.
Yeah.
And then he was like, okay, I guess we'll just accept what is going on and we'll just go with it. So I still hadn't told my mom. I was like, I think can I make me pili? Let me just take in the news myself. Maybe at about 2 months, 3 months or so.
Mama that time. Okay.
I was staying with mama at the time. And I had just started school. I had just started my first year. So I was like, okay, let me just calm down, relax. And then I think everything happened on a Friday that day, if I remember well.
And this is the day of the ectopic pregnancy?
No, the day I found out I was pregnant. It was a Friday that time when I found out. So because like I said, I had just started school. That means Monday I had class. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday I went to school. It was fine. I don't know, something just made me tell my lecturer about it, just to let her know. And she was very supportive, told me, you know what, pregnancy is not the end of the world. Just make sure you graduate, be able to go fend for your child, all of that.
Oh, how far along were you? Did you know how far along you were at the stage?
I think it was still early, 2 weeks.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, because I'm just imagining, but let's your lecture. I guess no more trust that much.
No, yeah, I was like, no, I need to just tell someone at this point, older, wiser, because I still wasn't ready to tell my mom yet.
Yeah.
So it took a day after telling the lecturer, I think, and then on a Wednesday, I went to school again. I was just fine the first classes. And then towards tea break, I was just in class and I started getting a sharp pain. Sharp pain, I think it was on my right side. One side, very consistent, very painful. So unbearable. And I was like, you know what, I'll just sit through class. And then when we go for that break, then that's when maybe I'll just quickly rush to the doctor. Because I did not know what was happening. I was like, is this how it's supposed to happen? But why is it painful?
That's it.
So then afterwards, come break time, I'm like, one of my friends was, hey, I'm going to dash to the doctor. I'm not sure if I'll be back, but just going to know, try to find out what's going on. That's when I went back to the doctor. When I got there, I tell him, so I'm in pain. He's like, hey, when you're pregnant, because he hadn't yet gotten in depth to find out how painful is it.
Yeah.
So he was like, no, when you're pregnant, it's possible for you experience a few pains because your uterus is adjusting, your body is now experiencing a change. But then he just started to question then, what kind of pain is it? I'm like, it's just on one side and it's very sharp, very consistent. And he's like, okay. Then he's like, no, I suspect an ectopic, but let me not just rush into things. Let me just send you straight for a scan. And I said, okay. And then I went for a scan. The guy who was scanning me was like, and he's not seeing an ectopic. It's just probably delayed development of the baby or something. But then he was like, let me just get a colleague to just and then they did that. The colleague was like, I suspect an ectopic, but we're not sure. So with the report, they sent it back to the doctor. And then that's when they decided, I think, let's just send her to a gynecologist. And then I had to wait for a gynae to come. Now at the time, they're like, my doctor's like, I think you'd have to tell your mother. Because if this is what we suspect, you're going to need the support you can get. And I was like, okay. And still.
Are you even able to comprehend what I
also haven't really studied or read up on what exactly they're talking about.
Yeah.
So I think it was when I was now in the waiting room to see the gynae, and then I was texting my partner then, they're suspecting an ectopic. When he sent a message back, what is that? That's when I'm like, yeah, what is this?
You know?
And then that's when I just okay, let me just Google what's going on here. I went on Google and then I searched. That's when I saw it's pregnancy that's on a fallopian tube, all of that. And I'm like, huh? Still dismissed it. It just still wasn't settling. I think the fact that they weren't sure then, I was just like, it's just probably something else. And then he was like, I'll be there as soon as I can. And then the gynae came. I went to the gynecologist. He was like, he's not seeing an ectopic, but he'll just give me painkillers to manage the pain. And then he monitors. I would have to come back after a week. But should there be any bleeding, should this pain come back while I'm still on the medication, I should just come back. And I said, okay. So I went back home, pain messing, still they can't give you anything outside of that. So the pain was just manageable. And then pain was manageable. I remember, you know what? It's slowly coming back. Slowly coming back.
And this is after how long?
4 days now.
4 days, okay.
So it was towards the weekend. That means now, the next following week where I now go back to the gynae, I am not going to be going to school properly. Because Monday I was like, let me not go to school today. Let me just go sort out this pain. So I went back and I was like, I'm still in pain. He did another scan and he's like, you know what? I'm just not sure what I'm seeing here. Let me refer you to another gynae. So I got a referral, went to another gynecologist. that man did a scan and he's like, I feel like you're young. So I'm not going to give you like sekesebonang on the report when you're by yourself. So please go get somebody. I'd prefer your guardian to be specific.
At this point, have you told Mama yet?
No.
Oh, girl.
I still have not told her. I still don't know how to tell her. So now I'm like, okay. I'm like, can't me, like I'm of legal age. Why is he like that?
Yeah.
But I was like, you know what? Now I need to find a way to tell this woman. So that's when it was a Sunday when I told Mama. I think I went to the doctor on a Monday. I stayed 4 days without saying anything. Sunday we went to church. And then after church, I jokingly say to my mom, Shegana mama, I'm pregnant. That's what I said to her. I'm pregnant. And then she's like, yeah, and then now I say to her, it could be an ectopic. And then I kind of saw a change in her face and she's like, why are you taking that lightly? And I'm like, I don't know. And then she was like, we'll talk when we get home. We get home. We were like, that's when she was like, Auntie, were you serious about what you said earlier? And I said, yes, I am. And she's like, so what are the doctors saying? And I'm like, I don't know. I went to another one who I got referred to and he was like, and he's not going to help me unless I come with you. Because whatever he has to tell me, he wouldn't tell me by myself. And then she was like, I could do me. And then that's when we called the family doctor. And then he confirmed, she's been seeing gynecologists. That's indeed like what we suspect. And then and now I think that's when okay, this thing could be serious. Because why is my mom also starting to like panic a bit?
Yeah.
First thing, Monday, let's just go. We went to the gynecologist. He gave her he gave the report for it. This could be an ectopic pregnancy. But then he still said he's not sure. So he was like, can I please refer her to GPH for another scan? And I said, okay. Then we drove to GPH. The whole time my mom is like, wait,
okay, can I also just chip in there because I'm trying to figure out what your relationship with your mom is like generally.
Yeah.
Close, your buddies, because I sense warmth. You know,
we are really close.
Okay.
She's like a very supportive mother, has been since. It's just that when you get to your teen years, hello, we feel like, you're strict, you're relaying, how cool. But as you get older, you're like, ish. And I appreciate her because most of everything, drugs, anything hella outside of what people would say, my parent can never share this with me. Now she had to like sit me down and be like, you're not going to do this. You're not going to do this. This is the dangers of it. She taught me sex. She taught me everything I just learned from my mom.
Okay.
I think even the whole, please do not fall pregnant outside of marriage should just always be like, you don't have to look anywhere further. I'm like the example. So she's just always been that supportive mother.
So in this moment, she's more afraid of the fact that this may be an ectopic pregnancy than, dwelling on the girl. Pregnant. She's just concerned about the ectopic pregnancy.
She was just concerned about the ectopic pregnancy. She wanted to know what measures they are taking to ensure that it's not affecting me anyhow. Not at the time, it still just wasn't dawning in her exactly what is this thing. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, you can then just get us into what happened next.
Yeah, so we went to GPH. He did a scan, go GPH, another gynecologist, that is. And at this point, my mom is like, Auntie, what's happening? What is this? What is all this jumping back and forth between gynaes? Why are they not giving us something to work with? Then we went back to like the original one then.
The first gynae that
yes,
you went
the
to,
first gynae. And then that was the one on that, okay, maybe let's just take her straight to theater and find out what's happening there. My mom is like, because it was more like over 25K. My mom is like, hey,
And are you on medical aid?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
But still, that was the still if you're on medical aid.
This is what you have to be.
Roundabout.
Oh, wow.
And then let's claim my dialona.
Okay.
So my mom was like, let me just wait first. So I think it took her about 2 days. And I remember her sitting me down saying, I'm going to have to ask your aunts for help. So please give me permission to tell them what's going on.
Yeah.
And I said, okay. So I guess they sat down, they discussed everything. And then my aunt was like, before you make a decision, let me send you guys to my gynae. So this was like, the fourth gynae now. And then we got there. I think it was Thursday. We went to see the gynae that my aunt referred us to. He was the one man that was like, you know what? I'm not going to like jump straight to let's do an operation. There's a procedure called a laparoscopy.
Yes.
That's the one that I'll do first.
Yeah.
And if the pregnancy is an ectopic.
And a laparoscopy is when they make incisions and, use tools through those incisions to
check what's going on.
The point. Yeah.
So my mom was like, now this is progress.
Yeah.
And then I think he was around about 22K or so. So he was like, let's just do it right away. And on that moment, now it's just dawning on me, I'm being admitted at hospital.
Right now.
Yeah, now I'm like, okay, now I need to sit down and really read up on this. What is this thing? At the time, when I was asking the doctors, so what caused this or what's causing this? None of them know. Google also will tell you there's no specific cause for this one. So I think that's another thing that was frustrating because you're like, how am I dealing with something that I don't know the cause of?
Yeah.
Yes. So fast forward to me being admitted to GPH. I went for theater, woke up the next day and found out I have a C-section scar basically. So that's when the doctor came in, okay. So I did do the laparoscopy like I had initially planned. And then that's when we found out that it was an ectopic pregnancy. And then he was like, I'll show you the images if you would like to see them. And I was like, okay, I guess I'll see them later. And then he was like, yeah, the good news is I managed to terminate and get it out without harming your tube anyway. Wow. So I was like, okay. So he was like, you can still be able to have children. However, one thing about an ectopic, you can never be sure. It can always come back. You can think the next time you'll be safe and it will be another ectopic. And I was like, okay.
And, he was right in saying, the good news, because a lot of people who have ectopic pregnancies end up losing the tube, right? Whichever side, the embryo implanted, bahella baluza tube side that thing.
True.
And it's actually the first time I find out where, people can actually have an ectopic and not lose that fallopian tube.
I was shocked myself, especially when I heard read up on other people's stories or just watch their stories on YouTube. I was like, so others don't even survive because I was like, this thing is so serious. And now I got to understand why my mom was sort of on panic mode about it. Yeah. So I was like, okay, I guess this is it. So I managed to get help.
And how far along did they say you were at that point? Yeah, the surgery.
So I guess the whole process and everything, I got to go through to theater when I was 11 weeks, according to the gynecologist.
Oh, wow.
Yes. So it was 11 weeks.
And he did say it was further along.
Exactly. He did say it was close to rupturing, according to what he told me. But I still did not understand how then the tube was managed to be. I was like, it can only be God.
God's favor.
At this point, it can only be God.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about recovery, right? How are you doing emotionally, physically? Also, was this a baby that you were trying to have, or is it a pregnancy that just happened, Yeah.
Okay, so this firstly was a pregnancy that just happened. So unexpected. So I think one of the things that I did not mention was due to the stay that I stayed with Patela, school was like, because of issues of the group work and everything, we can't say abana ba bangwe. So we're going to have to cut you out of school. You can give the medical report and then maybe you'll be coming back the next year.
Yeah.
But you can't continue.
Wow.
So I think that's when now everything was just like sort of becoming hard, because I'm like, what's the point? I already lost the pregnancy. Now I'm losing school. So I think that's the one thing that sort of caused an emotional turmoil on me, because I was like, no, I'm just going to stay there. I have to now start dwelling on the fact that I have to now, I guess, sit with the situation that I just faced. So at first it wasn't easy to deal with it. I was like, ish, I don't understand what this thing is. I don't understand why it happened to me. And then next thing, it's making me feel like I'm losing out on what could probably be a distraction for me. So I had to stay at home for like a whole year. That whole year I have to recover. So usually another thing is it takes a while for your C-section to, I don't know, regain your senses, just your lower abdomen.
Yeah.
So
In a bit numb.
It was numb for a while. I was worried. I was wondering if I was okay. I also still have that information at the back of my head. The pregnancy you have next might still be an ectopic. So now I'm like, so does this mean I'm not going to have children? What is all of this? Yes, but successfully, I managed to just get by through the year. I think also I had a bit of therapy here and there, because as I went for a checkup, my doctor was like, so how are you dealing with this? And I was like, I'm just okay, I'm home, it's nothing. And then he was like, no, go see someone, talk to someone, because is doing something to you.
Yeah.
So go and just see someone. So I did that.
Okay. And in all of this, do you feel like you have lost a baby? Like, is that a thing? Or it's more about the disruption of your life that came as a result of this? You know what I mean? Loss, I lost what could have potentially been my baby. You know what I mean? Is that there?
It's not there. It's not there because you're like, was it ever even?
That's it.
I think maybe I started being like, they only probably consider it pregnancy just because, I don't know, a process happened. Implantation happened.
Fertilization and implantation.
Where was the baby there?
Yeah.
The only thing that you can say, maybe this would make you feel like it was pregnancy was because of the C-section. Once it's there, you're like, yeah, so I don't know. To me, it did not feel like that. And I think that's one of the things that I had to learn first to accept. It was actually pregnancy.
Yeah.
And it did matter.
Yeah.
And yeah, that was the first thing. Yeah.
I'm actually, asking that because I know a lot of people actually who've had ectopic pregnancies struggle with that. Do I have a right to mourn a life, right?
True.
Was it even a life? You know what I mean? Considering that it was positioned wrong. And the thing about ectopic pregnancies is that generally, there is no chance of it surviving. Or
maybe reka shift move into the uterus. I think that was one of the things that I was like, no, what is this thing that we're dealing with?
Yeah.
And I think it's a struggle for most women. That's why I think we don't even talk about it, because what was I was pregnant,
you don't know how to
and
process
then
it even.
I lost what was said to have been a baby or what. So I think that's another thing that we just generate. That's why we just don't talk about it. Yes.
And through therapy, what were some of your findings or realizations about self? And, was it helpful that you actually seen somebody?
It was, because one of the things that I don't think I talked about was how I felt like my scar was a reminder of what I went through. So I had to accept that, you know what, you are feeling something here. You are feeling some sort of a loss. Mourn it. It's okay to mourn it.
Yeah.
So I had to just know that, okay, I have to mourn this thing. I really did lose something here. I really did experience something that caused a shift in my life and also changed perspective in some aspects, because now I'm aware that there's such a thing. It can happen again. Yeah. And it's okay to mourn it. It happens, it's there. And there are others out there probably experiencing it too.
Yeah.
So it's okay to mourn it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Speaking about others out there probably experiencing it, did you ever come across, or have you ever come across somebody else who's had, a similar experience? And what was the conversation like?
I have actually. I have. It was so unexpected. I was at the office one day. A lady walked in. So as I was just going through her chat and everything, I realized this person has been through it. And she had also mentioned, this is what I went through. And I was wondering if it's affecting the condition that I'm here for today. And it caught my attention. And for the first time, I was like, you know what? You're going to have to gain the courage to just ask somebody about their personal life. In their career, you're probing.
Yeah.
So I just asked her, so how are you doing? How did it, you mentioned that you went through an ectopic pregnancy. How was your healing? And you could get that she was a bit reserved about it. And I was like, I'm asking you because I've been through it. And she was like, what? Somebody has been through this. I remember her words like, you know what? It's so amazing to finally meet somebody who can understand what I mean when I say I've lost something that I don't even think I've went through. Like, I've lost the pregnancy that I didn't even get a chance to, like, go through
Embrace
it. Embrace it. Know that, you know what? And I think sadly for her, because she was one of the candidates that lost her tubes, hers had ruptured. I was just like, I'm so sorry. Yeah. So I was just like, maybe there's many of us out there. We don't know how to talk about this thing. I think we only mention it to our doctors, maybe to our close friends and family, but we don't really, outside in the community, we can't really relate with anyone to it. Yeah.
Now, did you ever, get a chance to go back to school? Or was that something that you continued to mourn? Like, how did that unfold?
I did manage to go back to school. I think I took a year. And then the following year, that's when I went back to school. I managed to graduate. I managed to get a job. Everything just started going well afterwards. I even managed to have a successful pregnancy 2021. Yes. So now I have a little baby
boy. And how long
boy.
After the ectopic pregnancy was the next pregnancy?
I think a year. I gave birth 2021. Yeah. A year.
Okay. Take me through that because, I can imagine you mentioned that as you were recovering, part of what you were experiencing is just the fear of what if this recurs, right? Right. So finding out you're pregnant, the second time and getting, to eventually, see that it's a healthy, positioned pregnancy. How was that journey to finding out, right? Okay, I'm clear. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah.
I think scary. Scary is the best way to explain it. The entire time. I think I was one of the people that immediately when my period was late, I was like, I need to go to the doctor. Found out I was pregnant. I was just on panic mode. I was anxious. I was like, what if? But the first scan I did, they were like, relax. It's in the womb this time around. And we are going to take care of you. I felt a bit of relief, but I was like, yeah, but will we make it to 9 months though? Yeah. Will this still be a healthy one? Will the previous one, am I okay? Yeah. Is my body fully recovered to even but they were like, you'll be fine. As long as it's in the womb, you're okay. So I had the best medical help ever. And I had a very healthy pregnancy, very healthy baby boy, all is well.
At what point were you then able to just exhale and...
When I just gave birth and the child was there.
I was actually wondering whether that was the case.
Yes, when I had just given birth and that child was there, I think that's when my mind was like, you know what, you did it. You're okay. But I feel like one of the things that put emotional distress on me was people constantly being like, is that why you were just quick to even fall pregnant again? And I'm like, but that's not the case.
Yeah.
This also just happened unexpectedly, but I'm actually grateful that it happened. Everything happened the way it did because now I'm just like, I feel like I got a second chance at this.
That's it.
And this time it came perfectly right. Yeah.
Also, it's a little unfair, man, for people to then be interrogating like that, because ke mang ene o na le di-answer tsa botshelo ba gagwe, and how everything unfolds, you know what I mean?
You have no manual of this life thing.
The thing.
You just never know what's going to happen, how it's going to happen. All you can just do is be grateful that God has just given us the gift of life.
That's it. That's it. So, you were already close with your mom, prior to the ectopic pregnancy, and then I can imagine another pregnancy. How would you say, especially the experience of ectopic pregnancy, recovery, everything affected your relationship with your mother? I can only imagine perhaps you guys, it strengthened it, you know what I mean? But let me allow you to share how that unfolded.
I think it got to show me who's literally in my corner. Like when she says, I literally have your back, she meant that. It strengthened our relationship. She was there throughout. Even the pregnancy that I had, she was just like, I am so grateful. Because for a moment there, I was worried. I wasn't sure if you're going to ever have kids. I just did not want to see you go through the stress of, will I ever have kids? Why am I not having kids? Another ectopic pregnancy, the stress of it. So it really had us close. Even now, she's like the best grandmother ever.
Grammy.
It's just so amazing.
That's wonderful. And why did you decide you wanted to share this publicly, Lucia?
Awareness. I want also for the ladies out there to just know, you know what? You're not alone. It's actually a real thing. It's happening. Let's talk about it. Let's learn from each other. Let's share each other's experiences. Let's support each other because we just do not know what life holds for you the next time. It could be another one. You could also have a successful one. Yeah, I think that's just mostly it. Let's just get to talk about it. Let's heal through it. Let's mourn it. Yes.
That's it. Apart from, just going back a little bit from the pain, the sharp pain on the right side that you're experiencing, were you experiencing any other pregnancy, symptoms? Like, did you have anything else that was happening in that,
I think it was only the sharp pain and the dizziness. That was it. I never had any bleeding. I never even had any of those. It was just that one sharp pain that just revealed everything to us.
And I think I'm asking because, people need to know what to look out for. People need to be aware of their bodies, and also I'm happy with the fact that when you experience the sharp pain, for all I know, this is what pregnancy is supposed to look like. The fact that you fought for yourself, I think something isn't right here. At least you had, a doctor that advocated for you and pushed that you keep just getting, this got investigated to a point where because I think, that's something else that we need to be aware of. And when you feel like something is wrong,
really go check it out. Yes.
Do you know what I mean?
I think that's one of the things we take lightly, health-wise. I think if that pain wasn't as strong as it was, I don't think I would have taken myself for go figure out what's wrong. So I'm glad that I took the time really to get myself out there. Also just to have to receive the help and not be in denial the whole time. I'm pretty sure I could have given up at that second guy who was like, Bon, I would have gotten tired to this whole back and forth or whatever, but had the best care. I'm appreciating that. And highly grateful.
Absolutely, because I think challenge, especially when somebody doesn't know what pregnancy should feel like, right? What is normal, what isn't. I'll re-emphasize for be your own advocate. Push, be persistent. You know what I mean? Check.
So I think another thing, we really need to read up on this ectopic pregnancy. Many say it comes in a form of vomiting, excessive vomiting, feeling like they're dehydrated. Dizziness is one of those things. vaginal bleeding. Those were some of the questions I also got. Are you experiencing any of these? I think that's why it was also a struggle for them to believe what it could be an ectopic, because they're like, so just that pain is the only thing you're experiencing. The rest of these symptoms are not there. So it was just kind of like, yeah.
But I've heard also that people about experience a shoulder pain.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
I think mine it didn't go straight to the shoulder. But one of the ladies, like I said, who I had an encounter with, she was like, mine was just constant on the shoulder. It was painful and I just collapsed. That's when they realized when we got to the hospital that it had ruptured. So others really, I guess, have a near-death experience because of this pregnancy. And it's things that we don't even know as much about it. I don't even think as much as we raise the awareness of different kind of miscarriages, it really gets the light it deserves. So we need to be taught, be aware of these things.
Yeah. Absolutely. And I think, it's a challenge that I'll also take for this very platform, Dimpo. We need to put in the work, to just create more awareness around these kind of conversations, you know what I mean? And these kind of topics. I'm an endometriosis activist, so I think, it'll be a pretty easy, conversation to have, because already I am an advocate in this space. So, I agree with you. These conversations need to be had. Women need to know what to expect. Women need to know, what signs to look out for, what does a healthy pregnancy look like. Also, the thing about it is, I think another thing says, whatever pregnancy is different.
That's also
Do you know what I mean? So just because advocate for yourself, tsamaya, buza, push, do you know what I mean?
What are you dealing with?
Yeah. How would you say the fact that you had an ectopic pregnancy has enhanced your motherhood journey? It has.
It has. Yeah. I feel like I appreciate every little moment because I'm like, would I have experienced this had my first pregnancy been healthy and all of that? So I don't know. Part of me I was sort of like a clingy mom also. I was just like, this is my baby and this is it. I don't want any, So now I'm just like, I just love motherhood. And I'm like, imagine if I could have went through this over and over again. I mean, of course, even through this pregnancy, the second one, I was still told this one may have been successful. We're still not sure about the coming one. So I guess this one I had to really embrace that, you know what? It could be my first, it could be my last. I don't know. So I just have to just be in the moment. In as much as the whole pregnancy, anxious, will I survive it? Will I be okay? At the end of the day, I'm like, yeah, I'm grateful.
You're so brave, to have come out to talk publicly about something that, like I'm saying, a lot of people are carrying in that little isolated corners. And another thing is where sexual reproductive health or female reproductive health is concerned, there's a lot of shame attached to it. Yes. So I want to commend you for that, for being bold enough to say, guys, this is what I've been through, especially because millions of women, not even thousands, millions of women globally experience this. Thousands and thousands of women experience this, right? So thank you for that. But I want you to talk to other women, other young ladies, other ladies generally who've had this experience, right? You were bold, you were brave, to talk, right? To not allow the perception in a society or, what I mean? The secrecy who hold her back from saying, I want to create awareness about this. What would you like to say to them? Those who are sitting in their corners, isolated, in shame, thinking, what could I have done wrong? Could it be me? Maybe this, maybe that, maybe, do you know what I mean?
The thing is, speak up because nobody knows what you're going through. It took me a long time to just fully be able to sit and talk about this. I think, like you say, even my mother was like, are you sure?
Yeah.
Are you ready to share? Are you sure you want to put your life out there? But I'm like, I think I'm ready now to be able to even sit and not cry or shed a tear while talking about this. That's for me healing. Yeah. So I was like, imagine if I was just going to shut up, die in my little corner, sit in my little corner. Imagine if I didn't have that conversation with that girl at the office and I just was like, yo, Keshai, I guess we both went through it. Let me just keep quiet. But it's in that moment that you realize we really need to talk, comfort each other. I have that sisterhood where you're like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Grieve it also. Accept that it has happened. Any change it caused to your body, accept that too, and just embrace it. Embrace it.
Yeah. Did you have your second or your baby now via C-section as well?
Oh no, it was natural. I feel like I feel like I say everything that happened to me, I think I'm grateful to God because I'm like, I don't know where I got the strength, how my body healed so quickly, how everything just, I think the doctors though were like skeptical about it. They were like, hey, natural. But if by that time you're healthy, whatever method is available will be with you throughout. And everything just happened beautifully. So you're God's favorite.
God's favorite. Well, Lucia, thank you so much for having this conversation.
Thank you so much.
And I wish you all the best in, this journey as you continue to heal, as you continue to process, as you continue to embrace, your new normal, the scar. Where you've been and, just the experiences that you've had.
Yes.
And, just the very colorful motherhood experience.
I think even the whole guilt and like wondering if it's your body, especially because you do not know what is the cause of this thing. You're constantly like, is it my body?
Yeah.
Is it me?
Yeah.
Was I eating right? Yeah. Did I do something wrong? So let's just, it's not you. Accept that it's just happening. It happened. Just learn to heal through it.
Absolutely. And to all the mommies who've had ectopic pregnancies, I think even for, and yet again, now this is me speaking as an advocate in this space, even for those who've lost their fallopian tubes. I came across a post recently of somebody who said they lost both from ectopic pregnancies. And, she was just so hopeless and saying, am I ever going to become a mother? I think the beauty of it is that we're living in times where there are so many interventions that assist with reproduction. Of course, quite expensive, but you do have the option, later on in life, if you are able to get the means to still be a mother and to still carry, through reproduction or reproductive, or fertility treatment. Let me just put it that way. So all is not lost. All is not lost, my mommies. And once again, thank you, girl.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Now, thank you very much for tuning in to this episode. And don't forget to share, to comment, like, and subscribe. And if you'd also like to share your story, you can DM the GaonaLive or GaonaLive Conversations pages on Facebook, or just email GaonaLiveConversations@gmail.com. Catch you on the next episode.